Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network Novel. Honghuang. A stronger and stronger senior brother in Intercepting Education than Tong Tian Traveling through the wilderness, he joined the Tongtian Sect and became the most formidable senior brother in the martial arts world. Tong Tian said, "My disciple, Yuan Shi bullied me and taught without anyone. What do you think we should do?" Zhou Yuan said, "Master, please wait. I will immediately take my junior brothers and sisters to Kunlun Mountain to let Yuanshi know the terrifying consequences of intercepting teachings." "How young you are. Why did that guy Zhou Yuan come again?" On the Kunlun Mountains, Yuanshi Tianzun looked at Zhou Yuan, who was rushing in with a Pangu axe in his hand, with a look of distress on his face. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 001. 5 Saints in a Day, Shocked by the Flood and Wilderness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I am the Orthodox sect of Pangu, from the beginning of Yuqing, and now I have established a great sect called Chan. I follow the mandate of heaven, interpret the will of heaven, and use the Pangu banner to suppress Qi. I should be the heavenly sovereign of Yuqing at the beginning of Yuanshi, and uphold the teachings of Chan. I am the Orthodox sect of Pangu, the heavenly sovereign of the Upper Qing dynasty. Today, I have established a sect to cut off and pray for the lives of all beings to cut off that line of vitality. I use the immortal sword formation as the treasure of the sect. I am the heavenly sovereign of the Lingbao of the Upper Qing dynasty, and I have established a sect to cut off. Another living creature has become holy. On the vast continent, countless creatures were all shocked. 100 years ago, the leader of the three Qings, the supreme sage, founded the human religion based on the human race and achieved sainthood. Unexpectedly, 100 years later, the other two Qing dynasties also achieved the position of saints one after another. Pangu and Sanqing used to be one entity, but now they are one of the three saints. Anyone who sees them in the entire wilderness must give way to them, especially the three religions, which are connected and immortal. Boom! But at this moment, two more rays of light rose from the western continent. Jiejiao and Zhuanti, who were far away in the spiritual mountains of the west, also realized the opportunity for becoming holy. They all spoke up and shouted, "Today, I Jiejiao, Zhuanti, co-establish a religion in the west, which is called Western religion. It guides all beings to be good, free from suffering and worries, and is a place of extreme joy. With the innate spiritual treasure, merit, and golden lotus, it suppresses the energy of Western religion. Western religion, establish." As soon as the two of them finished speaking, under the induction of the heavenly Tao, the merit of establishing a religion began to accumulate in the air, but it did not fall like the three of Taishang, Yuanshi Tianzun, and Tong Tian Sect leader. But instead, they gathered in the air, as if saying that these merits were not enough to make the two of them holy. This made Jiejiao and Zhuanti's face change, and their bitterness became even stronger. Sanqing can preach, after all, they are the original gods of Pangu, naturally possessing great merits, but they do not. Thinking of this, Jiejiao and Zhuanti jointly issued 40.8 grand wishes, creating the Western religion and the Pure Land, hoping to cross the confusion of sentient beings, the heavenly Tao induction, and finally stand up and become holy, achieving the ultimate fruit of the Tao. As a result, 6 saints have appeared in the flood and famine. Taishang, Yuanshi Tianzun, Tong Tian Jiaozhu, Jiejiao, Zhuanti, and Mua all became holy, and the only one who received the Honghuang purple qi but did not become holy was the Red Cloud ancestor. At the same time, not far from Kunlun Mountain, there stands a human creature with a bewildered expression, looking at the strange image of the sage in the void. Sanqing, Qingsheng, Honghuang. How young you are. Why did I suddenly come to the world of chaos? Zhou Yuan looked at the lingering signs of the sage in the sky, and through various memories in his mind, he could see that since he had traveled to a world of chaos, his identity was naturally that of a human being. Zhou Yuan, born in the 21st century in China. I was originally playing a game in the wilderness genre at home, but suddenly my computer exploded. When he woke up again, he had already appeared in the wilderness world. Wilderness. Zhou Yuan has always liked it, but now that he has truly traveled to a world of chaos, he is still very afraid. After all, this is an era of gods and demons dancing wildly. If you don't pay any attention, it will turn into flying ash and dissipate. According to memory, he was the first generation of the human race created by Nuwa. At birth, he had the cultivation of a celestial being and was also an innate Tao body. This qualification is already considered very strong in the human race. But for countless races in the wilderness, the human race is inevitably the weakest, because no one has passed down their cultivation methods. Even the great sages who founded the human religion have passed down the lineage of the alchemy and have not been given the method of cultivation. Therefore, Zhou Yuan left the land of the human race and wanted to go to the wasteland to find immortals and learn the supreme immortal method. I can't help it. Zhou Yuan's gaze turned to a huge mountain range not far from him. This mountain is the famous Kunlun Mountain that has been passed down for generations. Chapter 002. Go to Kunlun Mountain to worship teachers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kunlun Mountain. As the leader of all mountains, coupled with being the dojo of Yuanshi Tianzun, one of the 6 great saints in the future, it is naturally incredibly powerful. Joining the sect of Yuanshi Tianzun may be a good way. Zhou Yuan pondered and said, if you come to the world of chaos and don't have a strong cultivation, then you must find a strong thigh to hold on to. And Yuanshi Tianzun is a good character. Next is the leader of the Tongtian Sect. As for Tai Shang, there is no need to consider it. Not to mention the West. However, it's a bit difficult for the Yuanshi Heavenly Lord to select disciples. I don't know if I can be valued. Zhou Yuan, who was well versed in the wilderness, naturally knew the qualifications of the disciples recruited by Yuanshi Tianzun. It must be a great source of blessings, great perseverance, and a great practitioner. Ordinary creatures wouldn't even want it. Anyway. Just give it a try and you'll know. Ding. The check.in system is enabled. Please go to Kunlun Mountain to sign in, Master. Just as Zhou Yuan was preparing to go to Kunlun Mountain, a warning sound suddenly sounded in his mind. Upon hearing this sound, Zhou Yuan was immediately shocked and his eyes lit up with flashes of light. Ha! Golden finger. Zhou Yuan burst out laughing, surprised that the plot in the novel was all true. A necessary system for travelers. However, considering the conditions for the system to be activated, one needs to join the sect of Yuanshi Tianzun. It seems that if one wants to activate the system, they must work hard. Thinking of this, Zhou Yuan clenched his fist and quickly walked towards the Kunlun Mountains. Time flies. It's 1,000 years of time. Fortunately, Zhou Yuan is now an innate Tao body. Although he has not yet formally practiced, he is still considered a natural immortal body, so his lifespan is naturally long. Just as he stepped into the territory where Kunlun Mountain was located, Zhou Yuan felt a strong aura of saints permeating the void. The aura of a saint is truly terrifying. This is just a faint breath left between heaven and earth when the primordial heavenly sovereign became holy. Zhou Yuan really chuckled at the scenes in the novels where the protagonist could kill a saint with the help of the Luo Jingxian. What is a saint? The sage represents the supreme being of the vast and boundless world, acting on behalf of the heavenly way. Every word and action is the way of heaven. May I ask, as long as you are in a world of chaos, who can defy the heavens? At the foot of Kunlun Mountain, what entered Zhou Yuan's eyes were a large number of creatures standing on the ground waiting. These creatures have different forms and emit powerful cultivation. Yuanshi Tianzun has become a saint and will definitely recruit disciples. At the foot of Kunlun Mountain at this moment, the desolate creatures naturally want to see if they can worship the Yuanshi heavenly lord and the master of the Tongtian Sect. At this time, Tongtian, Taisheng, and Yuanshi had not yet separated their families, and all existed on the Kunlun Mountains. Sage Sect. If one could enter such a sect, it wouldn't be easy to walk through the wilderness. With the support of saints, even the witches and demons have to give them face. And the arrival of Zhou Yuan naturally caught the attention of many living beings present. Human race. This race is only a few hundred years old. Unexpectedly, there is a human race creature that happens to be the food for this demon. A cold voice rang in Zhou Yuan's ear, and the next second, he saw a huge monster appear in front of Zhou Yuan, staring at him. The demon tribe has always relied on the human race as their food, but now that there are two saints, Enhua and Taisheng, the demon tribe naturally not dare to eat the human race boldly. At this moment, seeing Zhou Yuan as a human race, he naturally didn't want to let go. Chapter 003. Duobao Taoist. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Zhou Yuan looked at the demon race that appeared in front of him and instinctively took a few steps back, with cold sweat dripping from his forehead. It won't be so unlucky, will it? Zhou Yuan looked helplessly, he couldn't just come and hang up. The demon tribe in front of him has a golden immortal cultivation, so it is effortless to kill him. Done. This human race must be dead. The other party is a demon clan expert in the middle stage of the golden immortal. The living beings around who came to wait for the saint to accept their disciples naturally wouldn't let go of such a good show, and they all started discussing quietly beside them. However, no one was willing to help Zhou Yuan. After all, Zhou Yuan is a human race, and the human race can be said to be a race that everyone can bully in the wilderness. If it weren't for the saints, the race would have been extinct long ago. But the demon race is different. In today's vast world, where witches dominate, who dares to offend them? Do you come too far, Taoist friend? This place is a saint's dojo. Don't you take the saints seriously when killing here? Just as the demon clan was preparing to take action, a figure loudly emanated from behind Zhou Yuan. Who? The demon race creature looked behind Zhou Yuan, also wanting to see who dared to harm his good deeds. But being reminded by him so much, he really dares not kill Zhou Yuan. After all, it can be said that this place is also a saint's dojo. If one were to kill here, there is a real possibility of offending the saint. Zhou Yuan quickly turned around to see who was speaking for him. Quickly, under the gaze of Zhou Yuan and the demon race creature, a middle-aged figure in a long robe slowly walked out. Surprisingly, it is a great Luo golden immortal. The Luo Jin Xian. In today's era, it can also be considered as a hegemonic existence. So, after his appearance, the demon race creature clearly took a step back. I have seen all my fellow Taoists before. This is a saint's dojo. Is it not good for you to slaughter here? The living creature that descended upon Zhou Yuan directly reported his name. What? Duobao Taoist. Zhou Yuan never expected that the person who would help him would be Duobao Taoist, the senior brother of Jiejiao in the future. Duobao. Cultivation is also considered the strongest among the three religions. Especially in the future, transforming into a Western Buddha is extremely terrifying. Humph, you're lucky, kid. After hearing Duobao's words, the demon race creature pondered for a while and could only say a cold word, then left with a gloomy expression. Seeing the departed demon creatures, Duobao didn't pay much attention. For him, it was just a matter of waving his hand. As for his intervention in helping Zhou Yuan, it was entirely because he felt a strong aura in Zhou Yuan's body, and he was wondering if he could help. After taking a few steps, Zhou Yuan approached Duobao and saluted, "Human Zhou Yuan, thank you, Senior Duobao, for taking the initiative." "Zhou Yuan, you're welcome. If you're not a senior, let's refer to each other as Dao friends." Duobao looked at Zhou Yuan standing in front of him and smiled as he bowed back. Since you said so, Duobao Dao Yu, I naturally declined. Zhou Yuan smiled politely and said that being able to befriend the future martial arts master brother would be helpful for him in the future. Duobao suddenly looked at Zhou Yuan and asked, Zhou Yuan, Taoist friend, doesn't know which sage you came to Kunlun Mountain to worship under. Zhou Yuan was puzzled and said, oh, why did Duobao Dao Yu say this? Don't you know, Zhou Yuan Dao, that many of the creatures who came here this time were worshipped by the two saints, Tong Tian and Yuanshi Tianzun. Duobao answers Zhou Yuan's confusion. Yeah, why did I forget? Now that Sanqing has just become a saint, naturally they have not yet separated their families. Chapter 004. The Saint's Apprenticeship Opening. You are listening at novel full.audio. Zhou Yuan looked at Duobao and replied, to be honest, Taoist friend Duobao, I came to Kunlun Mountain this time to see if I can become a disciple of the Holy One of Yuanshi, but I don't know if I can succeed. Zhou Yuan Dao, it's a bit difficult for you to worship the Holy One of Yuanshi Tianzun. Duobao couldn't help but shake his head when he heard Zhou Yuan's answer. Human race. This race has only been born for hundreds of years, and hardly anyone has paid much attention to it yet. He knows the temperament of Yuanshi Tianzun and is naturally very strict in selecting his disciples. It all depends on human factors. I don't know which sage's sect you want to join, Duobao Taoist friend. Zhou Yuan naturally understood that it was difficult to join the sect of Yuanshi Tianzun, but the chance was slim and he knew by giving it a try. I want to become a disciple of the master of the Tongtian Sect. If a Taoist cannot become a disciple of the Yuanshi Heavenly Master, they can also join me in the Tongtian Sect. Taoist Duobao said to him. Zhou Yuan nodded. If he really couldn't join the sect of Yuanshi Heavenly Master, he would naturally choose the leader of the Tongtian Sect. The leader of the Tongtian Sect claims to have education without discrimination, so he probably won't reject himself. So, Zhou Yuan and Guang Qingzi talked for several days in Kunlun Mountain. On a certain day, a bell suddenly rang through Kunlun Mountain, and two figures suddenly appeared in the originally gray sky. These two figures stand tall in the void, radiating powerful divine power all around them. Boom! In an instant, all living beings located in the Kunlun Mountains kneel directly on the ground, whether they are the great Luo Golden Immortal or the quasi-saint. Is this a saint? It's really scary. I am the Luo Jin Xian, but under the breath of this sage, I have no resistance at all. I must worship under the door of the sage. Kneeling on the ground, endless creatures gazed at the two figures that appeared in the void, all with fiery radiance in their eyes. Is this a saint? Zhou Yuan, kneeling on the ground, looked up at the two blurry figures in the void, just a breath, as terrifying as falling into an abyss. I am the primordial heavenly sovereign, the leader of the sect of elucidation. Today, the sect of elucidation has opened its doors to accept disciples. Anyone who can pass the test can be appointed as a true disciple of our sect. The primordial heavenly Lord, who appeared in the void, shouted loudly. Then, with a wave of his hand, a beam of light fell from the void. When the light dissipated, everyone saw a 3,000 staircase made entirely of white jade, emitting colorful light. I am the head of the Tongtian Sect, the leader of the Jiejiao sect. Today, the Jiejiao sect has opened its wide mountain gate to accept disciples. Anyone who can pass the test can be appointed as a true disciple of our sect. The leader of the Tongtian Sect naturally dared not fall behind. With a big hand, a huge illusion formation appeared below the Kunlun Mountains. After the words of Yuanshi Tianzun and Tongtian Sect leader disappeared, the holy power that oppressed everyone also disappeared. Go ahead. The quota for saints' disciples is mine now. Who dares to compete with me? After the disappearance of Saint Wei, those kneeling creatures looked at the two tests leading to Kunlun Mountain. Soon, I saw countless creatures stepping into two trials. Everyone wants to be the first disciple of a saint. As various living beings plunged into the 3,000 steps of the Yuanshi Heavenly Lord and the illusory array of the Tongtian Sect leader, Guang Qingzi couldn't help but look at Zhou Yuan Dao beside him and say, "Friend Zhou Yuan Dao, the test of the sage has come out, and we should also set off." Although his strength is not bad, as he watched the creatures entering the trial one by one, Guang Qingzi became a bit anxious. With a slight smile, Zhou Yuan nodded lightly and said, "Good, please, Taoist friends." Duobao was no longer polite and nodded slightly before jumping into the trial of the heavenly sect leader. "Oh, here we are." With a gentle murmur in his heart, Zhou Yuan no longer hesitated and directly entered the 3,000 asking steps of Yuanshi Tianzun. Ding! Congratulations to the master on arriving at Kunlun Mountain. Sign-in is open. Please wait. However, at the moment when Zhou Yuan stepped into the Kunlun Mountains, the improvement of the system also sounded as promised. Chapter 005. Who can climb to the top? You are listening at novel full.audio. Upon hearing the prompt, Zhou Yuan naturally felt happy. This is his greatest reliance on walking in the wilderness. Kill. Kill him, we can advance. Kill him, the sage will take us as disciples. As soon as he entered the 3,000 asking stairs, Zhou Yuan heard several cries of killing. He scanned around and saw many creatures holding various spiritual treasures attacking him. But Zhou Yuan was not afraid, let alone any retreat. What a low-end. Is that all? Chick. After a disdainful smile, Zhou Yuan let out a cold snort again, and then saw that he had just been ferocious, as if he was about to eat a living creature like him, and surprisingly disappeared in front of him out of thin air. At this moment, the 3,000 asking stairs, emitting colorful light, suddenly appeared at Zhou Yuan's feet. This is the first test of the 3,000 question ladder. Illusions, delusions. If you can't even see through these simplest things, then you naturally have no right to step on these 3,000 questioning steps and become a disciple of the sage. Above Kunlun, the Yuanshi Heavenly Master and the Tongtian Sect leader were watching the scenes of the two trials with some amusement. Second brother, why don't there be as many people coming to my fantasy formation as those who ask about the stairs like you, 3,000? The leader of Tongtian Sect is quite proud. Gently shaking his head, Yuanshi Tianzun explained, "Third brother, you teach according to the teachings of all kinds and accept everything. Therefore, there will naturally be more creatures going to your trial, but among them, there are mixed fish and dragons. Third junior brother should also pay attention." There's no need for second brother to worry about it. Second brother still cares about whether he can choose his favorite disciple. Master Tongtian snorted coldly. After discussing the topic of morality, the two naturally had nothing to say. Both sides believe that their respective moral principles are correct and in line with the heavenly way, and that there is a fundamental difference in their moral principles. In order not to damage the surface relationship between the two sides at this time, the two sages were very wise and did not continue this topic. At this moment, Yuanshi Tianzun also shifted his attention back to his 3,000 question steps. Climbing 3,000 steps is the key to success in the trial. The first 12 of us will be our legitimate disciples, with a time limit of 500 years. We hope you can take care of yourself. Soon, Yuanshi Tianzun announced his acceptance criteria to the 3,000 creatures participating in the trial on the ladder. 500 years. Take in 12 disciples. After hearing these two restrictions, everyone who entered the 3,000 question ladder became excited one by one. Rush, I must get the first 12. There are actually 12 spots. I'm afraid that if I keep my grandson, I will definitely be among them. Those who stop me will die. I'm Tai, please don't block the way, Taoist friends, and leave quickly. There are many creatures who have come to test, although most of them are just trying, there are still some powerful creatures who are extremely confident in themselves. For them, this trip must be successful. Afraid of retaining grandchildren, but at this moment, it was none other than Zhou Yuan who ranked at the top. In terms of strength, Zhou Yuan is just a celestial being. Perhaps he can rank among the many creatures participating in the trial, but there are definitely many who are more powerful than him. However, at this time, the fastest one is Zhou Yuan. The reason is simple, it's a 3,000 question ladder. The most important test is not strength, but the willingness to ask. As a guest of the future, Zhou Yuan is extremely familiar with the history of the past, so he knows very well what to do and how to do it. More importantly, Zhou Yuan also had a heart of inquiry. Since we have come to the wilderness, of course we need to leave some of our own marks. Humph, beautiful fairy, in the end, she's just a red powder skeleton. Get out of here. I beg for the Tao, not for power, get lost. In the first 1,000 steps of the 3,000 question ladder, the main test was still various illusions and temptations, such as beauty and power. But Zhou Yuan remained unmoved. Because Zhou Yuan knew that when he had enough strength, as long as he wanted it all, it would be natural. On the contrary, without strength, all of this is just a floating cloud. The scene of Zhou Yuan naturally shocked both Yuanshi Tianzun and Tongtian Sect leader standing on the Kunlun Mountains. Because they never expected that a human race would have such strong willpower to pass through the questioning ladder he had set so quickly. You know. The staircase set up by Yuanshi Tianzun can even be trapped by quasi-holy powers. But now it has been broken by a human race creature with only heavenly immortal cultivation. Chapter 006. Rejected by Yuanshi Tianzun. You are listening at novel full.audio. This can no longer be described by innate talent. The innate talent of the human race is so powerful. This child must become a great tool. Tong Tian stroked his beard and smiled as he looked at Yuan Shidao beside him. Perhaps, but the human race is too weak. Even if they have extraordinary talents, the strongest they can reach is just a quasi-saint. Initially, Yuan Shi's heart was still stirred. Although the human race did not conform to his principle of being the first disciple, if he could receive some resources from an external disciple to teach him, it would still be possible. But after much thought, Yuan Shi still felt it was inappropriate. The human race was extremely weak, even the animals with fur and horns in the wilderness were inferior. If it was accepted, it would only make people around the world laugh at him. Therefore, Yuan Shi directly crossed Zhou Yuan out of his position as a disciple in his heart. After hearing these words, Tong Tian shook his head without hesitation. His senior brother is good at everything, but he values birth too much. It's important to know that heroes don't ask for their origins. Some people born into small ethnic groups may not necessarily have the opportunity to reach the summit. Anyway, if these words can be said clearly, the beginning is not the beginning. And then let's wait and see how that human kid chooses. In the heavenly ladder formation. Some people looked at Zhou Yuan, a celestial being, standing in front of them, with mixed feelings in their hearts, not their taste. The human race is just the weakest race in the wilderness, and now they dare to make such a name for themselves. It's simply beyond our ability. If they were not still breaking through the levels in the heavenly ladder formation at this moment, they would have taken immediate action and killed the person directly. In the heavenly ladder formation, there are joys, anger, sorrow, greed, anger, and ignorance. Every kind has infinite tests, and to pass them, one must stick to their true intentions. Countless people were swept down every level. Only those outstanding individuals can persist until the end. And among these people, Zhou Yuan still ranks at the top. His only thought in his heart was to become stronger, not only to survive in the wilderness, but also to live well. With such thoughts in mind, Zhou Yuan continued to steadfastly move forward. In the blink of an eye, 100 years have passed. Over the course of 100 years, another group of outstanding individuals has been missing, and Zhou Yuan has also passed the final test and is about to reach the top. Behind him, many people continue to accelerate their pace, undergoing a century-long baptism. These people's speed has also increased significantly. However, in the end, Zhou Yuan was still the first to step out of the battle. At this moment, both Yuanshi and Tong Tian were once again shocked. Unexpectedly, this weak human race was able to maintain its advantage all the way, and was the first to arrive in front of them. This shook both Yuanshi and Tongtian's emotions. At the moment when Zhou Yuan was out of the battle, he took a few breaths. He looked at the misty celestial platform, feeling happy in his heart, and finally came up. As long as you start your apprenticeship, it will be considered as a formal start to cultivation in the future. I took a slight rest and tidied up my appearance. Zhou Yuan slowly approached Yuan Shi. Seeing the situation, it seems that Zhou Yuan chose his senior brother, but Tong Tian looked at Yuan Shi with great interest and wanted to know how his senior brother would do it. The sage of Yuan Shi, Zhou Yuan, lived up to his fate and was the first to pass through the heavenly ladder formation. Zhou Yuan respectfully bowed and saluted Yuan Shi. Zhou Yuan, your talents are quite good. Yuan Shi looked at Zhou Yuan and said calmly. Upon hearing these words, Zhou Yuan felt a sense of joy in his heart. It seemed that starting his apprenticeship was already a matter of certainty. At the beginning, he was the most protective, and in the future, he could be considered to have a saint to support him. However, following your footsteps, the source of blessings and luck do not occupy a single place. The human race is extremely weak, and now survival is only hindered by the protection of saints. If you leave, you will not be able to survive for 1,000 years. Perhaps you have good talent, but you are far from the requirements of our first disciple. However, when you pass through the heavenly ladder formation, I will give you a magical treasure. You can return on your own. The following words from Yuan Shi directly plunged Zhou Yuan's heart into the abyss. The joy that filled my heart just now has turned into sadness and resentment. The human race is weak. I won't live for 1,000 years. Go back on your own. Each of these words poked at the most untouchable part of Zhou Yuan's heart. He lowered his head and remained silent. And it was during this short period of time that many people who passed through the heavenly ladder formation also came to the front of Yuan Shi. But due to the fact that Yuan Shi was still standing in front of Zhou Yuan, he did not easily step forward. It's just that everyone around is discussing what's going on. Why didn't the sage and this person say a word? As more and more people gathered, Yuan Shi also frowned. If you insist on going your own way, this sage can also give you an outer door. Of course, Zhou Yuan knew what Yuan Shi was going to say next, giving him the status of an outsider like a charity, but like a servant, he was really not uncommon. Is it really so important for the sage of the beginning to follow the footsteps, source of blessings, and luck? Zhou Yuan looked at Yuan Shi unwillingly and asked. Human race, what I just said is the foundation for the survival of creatures in the wilderness, and it is naturally important. Yuan Shi felt impatient in his heart, and his tone was already cold. Chapter 007 3,000 Strongest Physical Fitness. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At this moment, the people around me can also be considered to understand the current scene. But they all looked at Zhou Yuan with great interest, their gaze almost treating him as a joke. Red Sperm, afraid of retaining grandchildren, the three of Yuting Immortal were originally thinking that if they were three people with strength in Tai Golden Immortal, it would be a bit difficult to call someone with heavenly immortal strength as big senior brother. Alright now, this guy can't even get started. However, it's also true that just a small and weak ant-like human race, how can we stand together with them? On the other hand, Guang Chengzi and Tai Yi couldn't bear it. Although they are aware of the weakness of the human race, the heavenly ladder formation cannot be falsified, and Zhou Yuan's talent is evident to all. Now it's just a bit weaker. But after 100 years of hard work, now everything is gone, which is truly unbearable. Everyone else is equally indifferent. Some even shouted at Zhou Yuan not to delay the sage's time, as the sage would also accept others as disciples. Zhou Yuan turned a deaf ear to these words. He burst out laughing as he listened to what Yuanshi had said. I thought the sage knew everything about the world and was different from ordinary people, but I never expected that he would still be so short-sighted. In the midst of the flood and wilderness, ants can still make a living, and with their own strength, we are a powerful race. Our human race was created by the sage Nuwa himself, and we possess the power of creation. Even if we are weak for a moment, we will surely become unparalleled in the future. Even if we don't have a foot to follow, we can become stronger through our own efforts. Zhou Yuan's words were resounding and powerful, which were his heartfelt words. But at this moment, what he said can only be a laughingstock. No one would think that a weak human race would become stronger. After all, without the protection of the goddess Nuwa, the human race would have been exterminated at the very beginning. A bunch of nonsense, the future has already been determined by the birth and change. If you work hard, you can become a great master. In the vast world, countless innate demons and gods no longer need to be proud. Everyone can be compared to the weak human race. Now, I don't want to listen to your nonsense, so hurry down the mountain. Yuanshi was filled with anger in his heart. Sigh, senior brother, don't worry. I think he's right and also ambitious. Tong Tian was already keeping an eye on Yuanshi and Zhou Yuan. Now that I have heard Zhou Yuan's words again, I have developed a love for talent and want to bring him into my family. After all, his creation of seclusion was originally aimed at intercepting a trace of heavenly secrets. No matter what kind of race in the world, as long as they pass the test, they can become his disciples. Now Zhou Yuan is the first to pass the heavenly ladder formation, which naturally meets his requirements. The weak human race doesn't understand, isn't it that you don't understand either? Yuanshi looked at Tong Tian, feeling extremely surprised in his heart. What's wrong with the sky today, such a blue-eyed human race kid? If it's to maintain a good relationship with Sister Nuwa, then there's no need for it at all. Senior brother, don't worry. Tong Tian shook his head. Then he walked up to Zhou Yuan's side. Human race kid, if I am willing to accept you as my disciple, are you willing to agree? Tong Tian smiled and said. Disciple Zhou Yuan, pay respects to master. Upon hearing this, Zhou Yuan agreed without even thinking about it. He originally thought he had no chance with Sanqing, and was planning on how to cultivate after going down the mountain, to obtain some magic treasures, and wait for the future. I didn't expect the olive branch to be handed over all day, so he naturally wouldn't refuse. Moreover, the level of education and protection is not inferior to that of Yuanshi, and there is no distinction between education and education. In the future, he will not be treated differently, which is indeed the best. All right, then you will be the first disciple under my sect to intercept teachings. Upon hearing Zhou Yuan's agreement, Tong Tian smiled and stroked his beard. Let's go and collect the remaining disciples with my master. If you are happy all day long, you should take Zhou Yuan to his place and recruit him. After all, he has already waited for quite a few people on his end. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully signing in and obtaining one of the 3,000 constitutions chaos body. After the sound of the system falls, Zhou Yuan's body erupted with an incredibly powerful aura. These breaths are washing through every part of Zhou Yuan's body. Blood, meridians, and vital energy. And Zhou Yuan was also bathed in these powerful forces, motionless, allowing these forces to transform his physique. Chaos body, one of the strongest constitutions among the 3,000 constitutions. In the eyes of Zhou Yuan, who knew about the future, the emergence of this physique had already laid the foundation for his future strength. The human race is inherently close. Now he is a combination of innate human race and chaos, and he will become stronger in the future, which can be imagined. This powerful aura caught the attention of Yuanshi and Tong Tian. And soon this aura directly alarmed the entire flood. In the wilderness, everyone outside of Kunlun Mountain looked towards Kunlun Mountain at this moment. Saint and disciple, it seems that you have encountered some amazing disciple. Some people who were brushed off looked enviously at Kunlun Mountain. Being able to be adopted as a disciple by a sage and possessing such powerful power, it seems that the future is bound to be promising. Boom boom boom. At this moment, all the clouds and mist on Kunlun Mountain dissipate invisibly. Chapter 008. Senior Brother. You are listening at novel full.audio. In the next moment, a thunderbolt enveloped Zhou Yuan directly. However, this thunder did not harm Zhou Yuan, but instead used its own strength to constantly wash away Zhou Yuan's meridians. Soon, his limbs were filled with strength. This was an unprecedented strength, and Zhou Yuan himself fell into a very mysterious realm. This realm allows him to feel the sound of the great Tao Zen, as if engraved in his mind. The rules of heaven and earth, the laws of all things, surround Zhou Yuan at this moment. Zhou Yuan himself is still trapped in that mysterious realm. On the other hand, Yuanshi and Tong Tian were somewhat surprised. The power of such thunder, not to mention heavenly immortals, could be easily destroyed even by the great Luo Golden Immortal. But in the midst of the thunder, Zhou Yuan was like bathing, not only without any damage, but also with an increasingly strong vitality. Although his strength has never improved, neither the former nor the present can compare them to each other. Because there is no comparability at all. Senior brother Yuanshi, it seems that my luck is good. This weak Yuan is still a treasure. He stroked his beard all day and laughed heartily. He had already been optimistic about Zhou Yuan's temperament. In the future, even if one's strength cannot reach the level of enlightenment, they will definitely be able to achieve great success. He originally planned to pass on some magic treasures and cultivation methods to him after going back, and then keep him in seclusion for 10,000 years until he reaches the level of Tai Golden Immortal and goes out to practice. I just didn't expect that the power of this thunder calamity had already transformed Zhou Yuan, so it seems that it doesn't take 10,000 years, 1,000 years is enough. Yuan Shi looked at Zhou Yuan like this and felt a bit shaken in his heart, but after hearing Tong Tian's words, he did not show it. Junior brother, don't praise people too high. Even if they are exceptionally talented, if you can't reach the end and reach the level of power and mystery, you will only end up as a laughing stock. The faint way of the beginning. After speaking, look around. At this moment, more and more people have stepped out of the ladder formation. From the beginning, he ignored this matter and continued to accept apprentices. According to what was said before the beginning of the Yuan dynasty, he received red sperm, Wang Qingzi, Tai, Yuding, Huang Long, and others who had good following talents, so they all became his own disciples. Later on, he even accepted the Randang Taoist as a disciple, claiming to be a disciple, but in reality, he was appointed as the deputy head of the Elucidation sect. It is worth mentioning that although the Antarctic Immortal became the nominal eldest disciple of Yuanshi, it was not included in the category of the 12 Golden Immortals. After all, although he has good footwork talent, his strength is somewhat low. Later, Yuanshi also recruited other disciples with good footwork talents. And after these disciples, they all became disciples of the outer sect, but no matter what, they eventually became disciples of the Yuanshi sect. After reaching a certain quantity, Yuanshi does not directly accept apprentices. So some people who passed the test ultimately had to leave with a sense of sadness. Compared to the scene in Yuanshi where there was originally a bustling crowd but not many apprentices, Tong Tian is much more lively. Duobao Taoist, Zhao Gongming, Dailing Holy Mother, Wudang Holy Mother, Jinling Holy Mother, Sanxiao, and others have all become disciples of the Tongtian Sect, but with Zhou Yuan, there are only 8 of them. Later, he also received 7 talented but completely different personalities, including the Dark Cloud Immortal, Golden Hoop Immortal, Pilu Immortal, Dingguang Immortal, Golden Light Immortal, Qiu Shou Immortal, and Lingya Immortal. And countless disciples from outside. Education without discrimination. Basically, anyone who can reach this place through the heavenly ladder formation will be accepted by the leader of the Tongtian Sect. Then, based on their strength, determine whether they are personally passed down disciples or external disciples. After all the dust settles. At the beginning, both Tong Tian and his disciples did not leave. They are all very interested in the thunder cocoon in the sky. Kunlun Mountain is not only the ancestor of all mountains, but also a holy Taoist temple. How can anyone dare to go through tribulations here? Master, who is in that thunderous cocoon? The Golden Spirit Holy Mother, with her ancient spirit and supernatural spirit, saw that the leader of the Tongtian Sect was not a strict teacher, so she approached with a smile and asked. That's your senior brother. After taking a glance at the Golden Spirit Holy Mother from the sky, he said faintly. Senior brother. Upon hearing these words, everyone glanced at Taoist Duobao. The first person who accepts disciples from the heavens is the Duobao Taoist. According to reason, he is the senior brother of Jiejiao and should be respected by all Jiejiao disciples. But after Tongtian's words, everyone suddenly realized that Taoist Duobao was not the first to apprentice. The first person has another person. And as soon as he arrived, he cocooned himself on Kunlun Mountain with the power of thunder, which is enough to show his talent and excellent qualifications. Everyone became even more curious, and some even couldn't wait to see this senior brother. And Duobao Taoist was also somewhat surprised. He thought he was the first person, after all, among the people present, he was the only one with the highest strength, but he didn't expect it to be like that. This made him even more eager to see who this senior brother really is. Definitely strong in strength. Chapter 009. Sanqing Shock, the Body of the Heavenly Way. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Just as everyone was curious, the thunder cocoon, which had not moved for a long time, took action. Thunder surged, and the sound of the great road appeared. Everyone was once again amazed. However, this is not the end yet, as the colorful light emanates directly from the thunder. This scene not only stunned everyone. Even at the beginning, there was some sightedness. Everyone once again became envious. This kind of opportunity is really something that can be encountered but not sought after. But I truly deserve to be the senior brother. At this moment, everyone's only thought is this. As for Tong Tian, it is even more joyful. The better Zhou Yuan's performance, the more it proves that his choice is not wrong. In the Eight Scenes Palace, the Supreme Master Laozi, who was originally in seclusion, was also awakened by this aura. He majored in the path of inaction, and everything goes with the flow. Therefore, at the beginning of this day, Tong Tian recruited his disciples, but he did not participate in it. Those who had a mentor-disciple relationship with him did not appear, so everything was not urgent. However, even so, the powerful aura of the heavenly way made him look sideways. This was the first time he had such a sense since his master transformed into the heavenly way. Therefore, after pondering for a moment, the Crown Prince Laozi stepped out of the Eight Scenic Spots Palace. In one step, we arrived in front of Yuanshi and Tong Tian. At the beginning, Tong Tian didn't expect the fluctuation of this breath to wake up his senior brother. But since the Supreme Master has arrived, the two of them are naturally welcome. Senior brother. Senior brother. Yuanshi and Tong Tian bowed to the Supreme Master Laozi. Master uncle. Master uncle. The disciples received by Yuanshi and Tong Tian, upon seeing the arrival of the Supreme Master Laozi, also saluted one by one. Well, I sense the power of the heavenly way in seclusion. Do you two junior brothers know what this is? The Supreme Master glanced at some of his disciples and ignored them. He then asked Yuanshi and Tong Tian what was going on. But before Yuanshi and Tong Tian could answer, he looked at the position of the thunder cocoon. The power of the heavenly way contained in the thunder silk cocoon is extremely strong, and it seems to be mixed with something else, allowing this breath to condense and not dissipate. This silkworm cocoon really has some mysterious aspects. How is this? Senior brother, the person inside is my newly recruited senior disciple, but I don't know how he is doing. However, he is one of the innate human races created by Sister Nua. Tong Tian smiled and answered. However, it is not very clear what happened within this cocoon. After all, although saints are omnipotent, they are not omniscient and cannot arbitrarily determine what this is. The Supreme Master nodded upon hearing these words. Waving his hand, 3 cattails appeared on the ground. Then he sat on the middle futon and closed his eyes. Immediately after, Yuanshi and Tong Tian sat among the remaining 2 cattails, equally closing their eyes and nourishing their spirits. And the remaining disciples, upon seeing this, all had learned to sit cross-legged behind Yuanshi and Tong Tian. So, everyone was waiting for the moment when Zhou Yuan appeared. Time flies, it's another 10 years. 10 years have passed, and in an instant, a very strong storm rises in the Kunlun Mountains. This storm was sandwiched between the thunder, but it did not have the intention of wreaking havoc. Instead, it constantly surrounded the cocoon of the thunder. There is a faint sense of welcome. Then, the thunder's silkworm cocoon cracked open, revealing a colorful light. In an instant, the sky shone brightly on Zhou Yuan who appeared inside. Under a shower of silver thunder, Zhou Yuan slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, everyone was stunned as they watched Zhou Yuan. At this moment, Zhou Yuan exuded a chaotic aura, and his strength was particularly close to the power of the heavenly way. The inscription on the Great Wall appears, entwined around the body, like the 9 heavenly gods. This. Tai Shang Laozi, at the beginning, the whole sky was stunned for a moment. Perhaps others think Zhou Yuan is close. Being favored by the heavenly way is just a chance. But only saints know how ruthless the power of laws and the way of heaven is. The heavenly way never favors anyone, even the innate human race created by Sister Nua, who is naturally close to the Tao, only has an understanding of the Tao. But this weak Yuan is even more powerful, and even the power of the heavenly way can be utilized. The 3,000 laws of the great Tao encompass all things in the vast and desolate world. Even saints cannot fully comprehend the power of laws. Before becoming saints, they also encountered bottlenecks. However, Zhou Yuan did not know. The power of the heavenly way was within him, and as long as his strength was sufficient, he could naturally advance. The speed is much stronger than some innate abilities in the wilderness. It can be said that if given enough time, even the position of a saint can be easily reached. Of course, the position of the sage mentioned here is effortless and refers to the path of slaying 3 corpses. To prove the Tao with force is an existence that even the heavenly Tao cannot control. If one wants to prove the Tao with force, they must pay twice as much hardship as the number of people in the wilderness. Chapter 010. Regret at the beginning, Supreme Emperor bestows elixirs. You are listening at novel full.audio. This. Upon seeing this behind the scenes, Yuan Shi felt remorseful in his heart. If Zhou Yuan is favored by the heavenly Tao, it means that there will be no obstacles in his future cultivation. If such a person is accepted as a disciple. Nature is very powerful. But when Zhou Yuan wanted to learn from him, Yuan Shi refused him directly because of his birth. This led to Zhou Yuan directly entering the process of intercepting teachings. And now, Yuan Shi feels regretful in his heart, but he can't do anything anymore. After all, this matter is basically settled. If you are saying something, you will lose the aura of a saint. On the other hand, Tong Tian was pleasantly surprised. At first, he was just optimistic about Zhou Yuan's temperament. With such a temperament, he would become a person who is not strong enough to understand the mysteries and live well in the future. I will also shoulder the responsibility of being a good senior brother and come to protect my junior brothers and sisters. But I didn't expect him to be protected by the heavenly way, the body of the great way, which is really great. It seems that this time, he really received a good disciple. Those disciples were also surprised to see that Zhou Yuan was actually the body of the Tao. Guang Qingzi, Tai Yi, and Yu Ding felt that Zhou Yuan should not be underestimated. Even if you are a human race, if you succeed at once, you will definitely become a strong person. Therefore, although I envy him, I have no other thoughts. However, those who fear leaving their grandchildren in red sperm, such as Cihang, are jealous in their hearts. He cursed inwardly, wondering how the heavenly Tao would choose such a human race to inherit the body of the great Tao. Instead of these innate creatures, they are more than twice as strong as the weak human race. However, no matter what, the wood is already a boat, and Zhou Yuan has now become the body of the Tao. Over time, his strength may not necessarily surpass theirs. And the people who intercepted the lecture were stunned for a moment. Can their senior brother actually be a human race? They originally thought that this senior brother must be an innate superpower with the ability to connect heaven and earth. It is very likely that the strength has reached the quasi-saint level. But I didn't expect it to be just a human race, and its strength is still immortal. How to say, before they came to Kunlun Mountain to pay their respects, there were also little demons serving them in the cave they lived in. And those little demons with the lowest strength are also heavenly immortals. But such a person has now become their senior brother. This is indeed surprising. But looking at the expressions on the faces of Master Yuanshi and Master, one can also understand that although senior brother's strength is not strong now, but in the future, we will definitely catch up and even surpass them. So they were all excited in their hearts. Well, if their senior brother doesn't have exceptional abilities, how would the master accept him as his disciple and senior brother? Of course, this senior brother's current strength is only a celestial being, more than twice as weak as them. But in the future, I'm afraid that if it comes to cultivation, senior brother will travel thousands of miles in a day, and everything will be completely different then. Among them, the Golden Spirit Holy Mother, Wudang Holy Mother, Turtle Spirit Holy Mother, and Sanxiao looked at Zhou Yuan, their eyes full of exploration and curiosity. There is still a hint of worship mixed in. However, Taoist Duobao looked at Zhou Yuan in a daze, feeling that it had only been 100 years, and he felt as if he had passed away. But he was still more shocked. Because Zhou Yuan was obviously the person he had rescued before the heavenly ladder formation. At that time, some people used the excuse of Zhou Yuan's low strength to try to exclude others. It was he who intervened to save him, but unexpectedly, this rescue brought out a senior brother for himself. And he is also a senior brother who is extremely satisfied with his master. This really shocked him a bit, but beyond the shock, there was also a bit of enlightenment. They should have understood long ago that the first person to break through the heavenly ladder formation could not be an unnamed and inexperienced innate human race. Congratulations to Master, congratulations to Senior Brother. All the disciples of Jiejiao bowed their heads and saluted Tong Tian and Zhou Yuan. Currently, there is no vice leader in the teaching of martial arts, and Master Brother is second only to Tong Tian in the teaching of martial arts. They naturally need to respect. Master, I am fortunate to have lived up to my fate and will surely shine brightly in the future. Zhou Yuan was momentarily stunned when he saw this behind the scenes, and then reacted. Immediately move forward and hastily bow to the heavenly way. Okay. Since that's the case, we definitely need to double our efforts in practice in the future. Tong Tian was obviously very satisfied with Zhou Yuan and even said 3 good words in a row. You are Zhou Yuan. At this moment, the Supreme Master also walked up to Zhou Yuan and looked at him calmly. Master Uncle. Zhou Yuan bowed his hands in a benevolent manner. Now that Sanqing has not yet separated his families, according to their seniority, he will call the Grand Master Laozi. The body of the Tao is indeed good, and it is surprising that it originated from the innate human race. However, since the human race was born, it has its own way to determine. Today, the 2 junior brothers accept disciples. As masters, I also need to contribute some mental strength. This is the 6 transformations golden elixir, which I will bestow on you today. Tai Shang Laozi took out 2 golden pills and gave them to Guang Qingzi and Zhou Yuan respectively.